Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Okay guys, it's Wednesday, January 29th, and it is 10:55 p.m. I've uploaded the first video, which was the Q post, getting caught up with the Q post, and now we're going to go to the second video, and we are going to get caught up with some of the news items. All right, I hope you're all doing well tonight. And let's just jump right in. I do have some people to thank, as I mentioned in the last video, but I'm going to do that in tomorrow's video because I sat down before I had transferred it onto my page. So anyway, there we go. Let's just jump in right here and we'll get started. We're going to start with the virus, but of course, we're going to be covering all sorts of other things as well. Now, I included this one because, where is this? Okay. Now I'm trying to remember why I did include this. Oh, I guess because this is in Russia, and this is how they are treating people there that have been, diagnosed or they're suspected of having this virus. They're taking it very, very seriously. Now, I do believe this is Russia, if I'm not mistaken. And I could be. But anyway, let's just take a look at this. There's no sound, but, well, there is a little sound. But that's pretty serious. They've got them in a completely encased. Yeah, it is Russia. I was right. Yeah, they're treating it pretty seriously. And all these people that say, oh, it's not any worse than the flu. How many people have you seen drop dead from the flu? Yes, the flu does kill people every year, especially the elderly and the very, very young. But this is far, far worse. And somebody was saying to me, I don't know, I think it was in one of the comments, said, well, it's only got a 2% fatality rate. It's much, much, much higher, much higher. They are not counting the deaths properly, because if you die from, well, this causes, in a certain percentage of people, it causes this pneumonia, acute respiratory, distress and whatever. So if people die of that, they're just saying they died of pneumonia. So we really don't know what the, percentage of people that are getting it. It's much higher than they're letting us know. We're not being told the truth. All right. So let's go back here, and we're going to look at this one. This is serious, very, very serious. Now, these people that say, it's just a bunch of hype, really, never in the history of the world have there been between 50 to 60,000 people quarantined forcibly. They're shut in. They've blocked the roads with dirt and whatever. In some towns are trying to wall themselves off from outsiders. They've shut down borders. They've now shut down the Chinese stock market. You really think that they're going to do that? I mean, China is notorious for not putting a high price on human life. So the fact that they're doing all this tells me that it's a heck of a lot more serious than they're telling us. Chinese authorities have decided to suspend trading on the nation's 2 major stock exchanges. This comes after fears of a coronavirus crash. Now, many people are saying this because, you think about just 50 to 60 million people. That's a lot of people, a lot. And they're not allowed to take their cars out at all. You can't leave the city. The transportation's shut down. The markets are shut down. Now the stock market's shut down. That's just not done. They didn't even do that with Ebola. So, yeah, this is very, very interesting. Chinese authorities have announced that stock markets in Shanghai and Shenzhen, probably not pronouncing that right, will remain closed until next Monday as fears over coronavirus continue to swirl, but it may not be enough to stop a sell-off once markets reopen next week. Chinese authorities have decided to suspend trading on the Shanghai and Shenzhen stock exchanges. This move comes as the Wuhan coronavirus outbreak grows in size and severity. The government is kicking the can down the road. Investors can expect a massive correction when trading resumes next Monday. China's financial markets will remain shuttered until February the 3rd due to coronavirus fears, according to separate announcements from the Shanghai and Shenzhen exchanges. The move comes as the Wuhan coronavirus outbreak grows in size and severity, with many fearing it may lead to a global recession. The Chinese government may be trying to delay panic selling until it can get the massive outbreak under control. It's too late. Even the experts are saying that it's out of control. It's spreading every day. We hear of more cases globally. So yeah, it's not going to be under control. I think they've let it out now, so it's out there. The move comes as, okay, we just read that. The Chinese government may be trying to delay panic selling until it can get the massive outbreak under control, but this strategy is unlikely to work because of the sheer impact the virus is already having on the nation's economy. Investors can expect to see a large correction in the Chinese indices, you know what I'm saying. When and if trading resumes next Monday, the impact of the crisis is sure to bleed into American markets and may trigger a stock market correction. It's already bleeding into the American stock market. So, big time. It's no secret the Wuhan coronavirus is getting worse. So far, over 4,000 cases have been confirmed with 106 fatalities. We know that is so far off. It's laughable. They're not going to do all of this for 106 fatalities. They're not. China does not value human life. When has it ever valued human life? I'm not talking about the people themselves. I'm talking about the government. So I don't believe it. I don't believe it. There are over 50 cases outside of China, including 5 in the United States. Recently, Germany confirmed its first case of the disease, bringing the total of infected countries to 16. In response to the threat, China has quarantined entire cities. The travel restrictions affect a total population of 60 million people and might be slowing economic activity to a halt in the affected areas. Well, no kidding. Yeah. Data from the first day of the Chinese New Year shows a significant decline in travel across all major platforms. There was a 41.6% decline in civil air travel, a 45.5% drop in rail travel, and a 25% drop in road travel. U.S.-based companies with Chinese subsidiaries are also scaling back their operations. In response to the crisis, China has decided to extend the Lunar New Year break on trading by 4 days. This looks to be an attempt to prevent panic selling due to the outbreak. However, the February 3rd date for a resumption of trading may be delayed because of Shanghai authorities have separately advised companies not to resume work until at least February 9th. Despite the halt on trading, Chinese firms are still feeling the pain. The U.S.-listed China large cap ETF dropped 4% on Monday. Is the United States next? The United States economy is on shaky footing going into 2020. America's economy is tightly intertwined with China's, and a massive crash there would have ripple effects across the world. Companies and significant exposure to China have already posted significant declines, with Apple and American Airlines down 3% and 8% respectively. Chinese airlines are in free fall, with U.S.-listed China Southern Airlines and China Eastern Airlines both down over 7% on the day. Investors should also watch for the market fallout over a recent missile strike against the United States Embassy in Iraq. That situation, along with the ongoing crisis in China, could put pressure on equity prices going forward. With all these black swans hitting the market at once, there's a growing fear that a major economic downturn is around the corner. All right. Now, let's go back and look at this. Talk about, it's like we're being hit with plagues. A plague of billions of locusts threatened to create horrific end-time famine across Africa. And as if Africa needs another famine. It doesn't. All right, billions of locusts are eating everything in sight in East Africa right now, and every single day, many more farms are being completely wiped out. Unfortunately, authorities are telling us what we have seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, if extreme measures are not implemented immediately, authorities are claiming that this locust plague could literally get 500 times worse in a few months. But it is difficult to imagine conditions getting any worse than they are at this moment. Ravenous locust swarms that are the size of cities. Could you imagine a locust swarm the size of a city? And those things eat everything in its path. Ravenous locust swarms the size of cities are consuming crops at a staggering pace, and this could potentially cause famine of the African continent that is unlike anything we have ever seen before. Wow. It can be difficult to imagine a plague of billions of locusts. After all, there are only about 7 billion people living on the entire planet, but this is actually happening right now. Billions of locusts are absolutely devastating East Africa, and each one can eat its own weight in food every day. Billions of locusts swarming through East Africa could prove disastrous for a region still reeling from drought and deadly floods, experts have warned, amid increasing calls for international help. Dense clouds of the ravenous insects, each of which consumes its own weight in food every day, have spread from Ethiopia and Somalia into Kenya in the region's worst infestation in decades. It would be hard to overstate what this is going to mean for the region. According to the FAO, this plague is an unprecedented threat to food security and livelihoods in the Horn of Africa. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has described the situation as extremely alarming, representing an unprecedented threat to food security and livelihoods in the Horn of Africa. We have seen starvation in Africa before. In fact, there was a time when our airwaves were filled with images of starving African children. But if this plague continues to get even worse, the stage is being set for a famine that is far greater than anything any of us have ever witnessed. The density of some of these locust swarms is absolutely crazy. According to officials, a single locust swarm can have up to 150 million locusts per square kilometer. Whew. A typical desert locust swarm can contain, okay, that's basically what we just read, and it is important to note that some of these swarms are many times that size. In fact, one of the largest swarms in northeastern Kenya was measured to be 60 kilometers long by 40 kilometers wide. In other words, that swarm was far larger than any major city on the entire planet. Wow. Spraying these locusts has only limited effectiveness, but it is one of the only things that can be done at this point. Unfortunately, Kenya has only 4 planes currently flying, and the same goes for Ethiopia. The UN is going to step in with $10 million of additional funding, but that won't really go too far. The truly frightening part of this story is that we are being told that the worst is yet to come. If you can believe it, and I know that this sounds absolutely nuts, but UN officials are actually warning that this plague of locusts could get 500 times larger when warmer weather arrives. If what the UN is telling us is accurate, and I have no reason to believe that it isn't, then Africa is facing a nightmare of almost unbelievable proportions. Yes, I keep warning that the perfect storm is here, but the scale of that plague that Africa is potentially facing is very hard to imagine. With hundreds of billions of locusts potentially eating crops all across Africa, what will be left for the people to eat? Wow. Needless to say, many relief organizations are fearing the worst. Even before 2020 began, millions upon millions of Africans were dealing with acute hunger, and the outlook from the coming year was grim. But now nobody has any idea how there will possibly be enough food for everyone. 1.2 billion people in Africa. That's a lot of mouths to feed. And right now the locusts are stripping farm after farm completely bare. I know that I have been writing about the coronavirus outbreak a lot in recent days, but this crisis could potentially kill far more people. We have reached a time when global events have really started to accelerate, and the months ahead promise to be quite challenging for all of us. And, you know, that's why I just believe we are in the end of days. These plagues, I know there's always been locust plagues. I mean, it's happened for millennia. However, not like this. Not like this. So we've got the coronavirus, hitting one of the most populous, well, the most populous place on earth, China, and then Africa, which also has a massive, massive population. Well, 1.2 billion people live in Africa, and you've got this happening. So, yeah, what do you think the outcome's going to be? It's not good. Not good at all. All right. So let's go back now because there's more. All right. Now, this falls under the category of completely ludicrous things that liberals do. Stargazing is going to cost you. New York is now mandating stargazing permits for looking up at the sky. Yeah. You heard me right. You're going to have a permit if you want to look up at the sky. Right. Yeah, you really can't make this stuff up. That's for sure. Yeah, let's go take a look at this because this is weirdness on steroids is what this is. All right. Can't make this stuff up. New York State is now mandating stargazing permits for looking at the sky. Well, it's not special. Stargazing access permit for the purpose of stargazing only. I mean, this is weird. Why would you need a permit for looking up at the sky? People have been doing that since time began, looking up at the sky. Now you need a permit for it in New York City. Imagine this, you're out with your family in one of the parks in New York State when you can actually see the stars when it gets dark. Where you can actually see the stars when it gets dark, you look up in the sky, see a constellation, and you point upwards to show your kids. Along comes a park ranger demanding to see your stargazing permit and issues you a citation because you didn't know you needed such a permit. That's right, the state of New York is now demanding us peasants give them money so we can look up at the sky. They're probably going to require a permit to walk on the ground next. Unbelievable. Unsurprisingly, the only two regimes to ever regulate stargazing have been the Inquisition and New York Governor Cuomo. Yeah, what a guy. This is totally a real thing as it shows up in the state's permitting for parks, recreation, and historic preservation. Wow! And guess how much it costs to look up at the sky? Don't look at the full moon, people. Not that there's one out there now, but when there is, don't look. Fee of $35, $60 if you're out of state. Vehicle registration and driver's license required. Well, there you go. I guess, what? Kids can't go out and just stargaze? They have to be old enough to have a vehicle registered and a driver's license? Huh? I'm confused. Permit allows after sunset parking for stargazing only. Hither Hills, except July and August. Jones Beach, West End 2 and Field 6. Montauk Point, upper parking lot. Robert Moses Field 2. Governor Alfred E. Smith, Sunken Meadow, Field 1 and Field 3. Wildwood, main parking lot. Well then, I hope none of those patriots were looking up at the stars while they were in Wildwood, New Jersey. Really? I hope they weren't. They also make you buy a permit if you want to dive into the water. It's the regional diving permit, and it costs $80 for in-state residents and $125 for out-of-state. Want to run your metal detector over the dirt? Fork over $40, you peon, or end up in jail. Yeah. Others are defending the permit in the thread, claiming that it allows people to enter the closed parks after hours, but they are clearly missing the point. If you can enter the park with a permit, then it's not closed at all. It's open to anyone willing to be extorted or who can afford it. Those who are unable to pay the government or choose not to do so for the exact same activity will be arrested and or further extorted. Now, for the irony and blatant statist hypocrisy. If you want to go after dark to look at the stars on state land that you paid for through your tax dollars, you have to pay the government more money for a permit. However, if the government wants to take the most sacred land in the state and put a telescope on it to look at the stars, that's fine and dandy. If you try to protest the government's construction of stargazing equipment on your sacred land, you can and will be kidnapped and caged. Yeah. Case in point, Mauna Kea's summit is the most sacred of all the mountains in Hawaii to many of the indigenous people. In July, when those people showed up to protest the desecration of their land with a 30-meter telescope, dozens were arrested. The libertarian anarchists are having a field day with this. Yes, I suppose they are. Lefties, voter ID is racist. You can't require ID to vote. I'd like to look at the sky. Lefties, you'll need a permit for that. State-issued ID required to obtain said permit. Is it getting crazy, or is it just me? If it pleases the crown, may this serf please lift his head to look up at the sky? Yeah. Well, that's that. Want to look at the sky from this particular patch of dirt? Pay up. Better get your permits early. Nature closes at 11, and if you don't have this slip, we'll give you another one that costs even more. Yeah, there you go. How are these liberal policies working out for y'all? Not so good, is it? Yeah. So what happens when an illegal alien wants to look up at the sky and can't get the permit because he doesn't have proper ID? ACLU would no doubt sue the state for millions, and the taxpayers would be on the hook for it. Yeah, that's about right. All right, let's go back now because we've got more to get to. Lots more. Yes, and then there's Joe Biden. What would the day be if there wasn't something about Joe Biden? Sloppy Joe. Biden says there's a good chance he would die in office, says his VP must be ready. Well, that's a good way to get elected, isn't it? To stand up and say, well, people, chances are I'm going to die in office, so, gotta get a good VP that'll be ready. All right. The human gaffe machine known as Joe Biden, Sloppy Joe, lived up to his nickname at the campaign stop in Clinton, Iowa. Biden explained that he wants to make sure his running mate is prepared to take over as president. His reason? I'm an old guy. Translation, I could die in office at any time. While his honesty and ability to grasp reality is refreshing, it cannot play well with voters. No, I don't want to elect a dead guy. Call me crazy. I can think of at least eight women and at least 4 or 5 people of color that I think are totally qualified to be vice president of the United States. But for me, it has to be demonstrated that whoever I pick, there are 2 things. 1, he's capable of being a president because I'm an old guy. Why he? No, see what he's saying here? Oh, I can think of at least 8 women and 4 or 5 people of color. Oh, you can't think of any white people? Like, why is he picking that out? Because he wants to win points. Like, oh yeah, I'm totally rad. I'd choose a woman. I'd choose a man of someone of color. But then he says, but for me, it has to be demonstrated that whoever I pick, there are 2 things. 1, he's capable of being a president because I'm an old guy. Oh, so I guess that means you're not considering women, right? Oh, the American people want to vote for a president who will still serve them and have the health to be able to serve. Biden served as vice president and a senator for decades, and serving as president of the United States is the most stressful job in the world. If you are already admitting that you're not healthy enough to possibly last even one term, perhaps you shouldn't be running at all. Also, if Biden picks an unlikable radical Democrat to get the left wing of the party on board with his candidacy, all President Trump needs to do is play the clip of Biden admitting he could be gone at any moment because he's an old guy. Yeah. And I'm wondering why nobody picked that up, that one, he's capable of being he. Oh, I can think of at least 8 women and 4 or 5 people of color. But then he refers to the VP as a he. Interesting. I'm just pointing it out. Don't kill the messenger. So there you go. It would seem that when crazy Uncle Joe Biden opens his mouth, nobody knows what's going to come out. Least of all, Biden. Yeah. Sloppy Joe. All right. Let's go back. Oh yes, let's look at this. No, really, let's. Trump doesn't invite House Democrats to USMCA signing ceremony. Well, gee. I wonder how ticked off they were about that. And I noticed that he didn't have like a bunch of different pens signing one letter at a time. President Donald Trump did not invite House Democrats to Wednesday's signing ceremony of the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement at the White House, said the office of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Oh, is Pelosi crying about that? The White House hasn't invited House Democrats to their USMCA signing ceremony, Pelosi spokesman Henry Connolly said in a statement Tuesday, but will be well represented in the huge changes to the original USMCA draft that Democrats wrested out of the administration on labor, prescription drugs, environment, and enforcement. See, she's always trying to take, the credit where no credit is due. I see a big black cat on a china cabinet. He seems to know when I'm busy, because you don't see him up there any other time. Oh, Sammy? I'm sorry, I'm yelling into the microphone. Sammy? Oh. All right, if he doesn't get down in a few minutes, I'm going to have to pause and have a cat intervention because I have this feeling there's about to be a catastrophe. A catastrophic accident involving China. Oh, yeah, excuse me for a moment. I'm going to put this on hold so that I can... Okay, I'm back, and I just want to let you know that no cats were harmed in the filming of this video. So there you go. All right, now let's... Oh, wait. We were over here. Yeah. Earlier this month, the Senate overwhelmingly voted in favor of the revamped Trade Pact 89-10, delivering President Trump a key legislative victory in a presidential election year. The approval came after China agreed to buy an additional $200 billion in U.S. goods and services over the next 2 years as part of their Phase 1 trade agreement. So I'm not going to get into all that because we pretty much know all that. President Donald Trump signed the agreement with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I'm sorry, an eye roll just like escaped. I didn't mean to do that. Yes, I did. Okay. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and then Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto in November 2019 in a recent interview with Breitbart News, Vice President Mike Pence lauded the deal as a huge win for the working class. USMCA is a huge win for American workers and American farmers, Pence said. It is a historic achievement following decades of shuttered factories and lost jobs in the wake of NAFTA. I was there every step of the way as the president worked relentlessly negotiating with the outgoing president in Mexico and Prime Minister Trudeau in Canada, the vice president added. He drove a hard bargain, and I bet he did. But I like that he didn't invite the Democrats. You know, I just wonder if Nancy had her knickers in a knot over that. Probably. She has her knickers in a knot over everything. All right. Let's look at this. Okay, exclusive. This is big news, people. Exclusive. Feds leak explosive details of players in massive Clinton global heist. Biden's implicated in organized crimes at the highest level. Interesting. High-ranking Justice Department officials are leaking troubling details of a massive cover-up involving Hillary and Bill Clinton, the State Department, and governments in Europe and beyond in a scheme that steered untold billions of tax dollars from numerous countries to the Clinton Foundation and Clinton associates. Now, those of us that have been following this since 2017, we know this, but it's just coming out. Thomas Paine broke emerging details of the exclusive story on his new podcast on Wednesday and also discussed the growing scandal Tuesday night on his Patreon show. And now, former Vice President Joe Biden's name has surfaced as part of the Clintons' global fraud network. Federal sources confirm Biden is currently a Democratic candidate for president. This is a cartel, a top-level federal source said. This is organized crime at the highest level. Billions of dollars in tax monies swiped from the U.S. Treasury while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State and funneled to shell companies and associates who kicked back untold hordes of cash to the Clinton Foundation and, in essence, to the Clintons themselves. Add to that the large cache of cash. Federal law enforcement sources are now detailing other countries and even more money involved in the scheme. Norway, New Zealand, Australia, India, Switzerland for starters, and that list will grow, and so will the illicit funds. Attorney General William Barr's Justice Department has been giving Hillary Clinton and other Democrat politicians another free pass, and federal agents are beyond steamed. Here is an excerpt from the podcast. Let me put this in simple terms so you understand what's going on. The Democrats and some of their friends, maybe even GOP folks, okay, but the Obama administration, Hillary, the Bidens, and many others, it may go all the way up to the top before it's all over. Okay, they fleeced multiple countries, multiple companies, including the United States government, of billions of dollars. This is no longer millions, this is in the billions. So when some politician, even Ted Cruz, was talking and rambling about it today, about Hunter Biden got $1 million, that's an effing joke. That's an effing joke. This is billions of dollars. If someone in Congress is saying, hey, this guy got $1 million, that's a cover for much more than $1 million. These guys moved out of the million neighborhood a long time ago. $1 million is like what somebody in the state government takes. This is billions. And there's more than one corrupt member of the Biden family, and there's more than one country than Ukraine. If they were doing this in Ukraine, don't you think that they would duplicate the scheme in other countries? They did, and they did it with other people, other corporations, other nonprofits. They ripped them off. And that's why the scheme known as the Clinton Foundation and Clinton Global Initiative is collapsing, because everybody's pissed and people are talking. So when you hear somebody in Congress say, oh, he took $1 million, bullshit. These effing guys are professional thieves. They don't get out of bed unless it's way more than $1 million. Give me a break. These guys are pros, man. $1 million, it's like a joke. It's going down to Wawa and getting a cup of coffee and a sandwich. $1 million, come on, man, get real. These guys are all covering for each other. This is a massive scheme. This is why they want to get him out, Trump. They want him out of D.C. so everything will go back to normal. Everybody can start relaxing and they don't have to worry about all that foreign aid you're giving out to other countries. The money was being laundered back to the Clintons and their cronies. So there you go. Very, very interesting. I don't know. I will lose hope if Hillary Clinton is not held accountable. I really will. I will seriously lose hope in there ever being justice. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm willing to wait and see. All right. Now, let's look at this. This by Justice Seeker. And it says, John Bolton seemed okay with Ukraine call 5 months ago. What changed? Yeah, indeed. What did change, John Bolton? And this person is responding to Mark Levin. Is it Levin or Levine? I'm not sure. I never know. And this is an interview with John Bolton describing the president's conversation with President of Ukraine as warm and cordial in August 2019. If he thought that at the time that the president was stiff-arming the Ukrainians, he had a funny way of showing it. Yeah, he's just kind of done an about face. Gee, I wonder why. John Bolton? Why would that be? Well, of course we know. All right, Mark Meadows. Washington Democrats know their impeachment effort is failing, so they retort to bringing in federally indicted Lev Parnas wearing an ankle bracelet and suddenly disclosing a 4-month-old phone call with no relevance. They are desperate. It's right in front of you. Yes, it is right in front of me, and it's making me a little nauseous. I like some of the arguments, proving Trump's innocence, but this whole debacle is getting to the point where I just get angry watching it. I get angry because it's so obvious. Anyway, all right, now let's take a look at this because we can. FBI implicated in destroying evidence to help Hillary Clinton. No, tell me it's not true. This is old. This is from August. So I'm not sure why this is not new. But, of course, we know that they would do anything to protect Hillary, so that's not surprising. And we've probably covered that way back. All right, let's go on. No, really, let's. Okay, GOP. I gave a list on the floor of the Senate yesterday of over 30 American presidents who had been accused of abuse of power. None of them was impeached. Shows you how vague and open-ended and selective that criteria is. And that by Alan Dershowitz. And it's true. So 30 American presidents have been accused of abuse of power. None of them were impeached. So, yeah. All right. Now, let's look at this. Man accused of threatening to kill Trump had nearly 3,000 child porn images. Now, this is fresh news. It just came out today. No, it came out yesterday. I lied. A Kansas man who threatened to kill President Trump last week was slapped with new charges Tuesday after investigators found 2,800 images of child pornography in one of his online accounts, authorities said. Aaron McDowell, who had kept those photos on a cloud storage and file hosting service, also had more than 150 images on his cell phone that showed children performing sex acts, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Kansas said in a news release. The 24-year-old creep made headlines after allegedly threatening the president in a January 21st social media post. I'm going to kill Trump in the White House tomorrow at 7 p.m., he wrote on his Facebook page. According to a criminal complaint, a U.S. Secret Service agent went to the suspect's Salina home the following day and charged him with knowingly and willingly making a threat against the President of the United States, a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. I'm just laughing at, the mentality of this man that if you're going to threaten somebody, like, okay, first of all, you're threatening the most important man in the world, one of, and, and here you've got all this porn on your computer and your phone. Like, hello, don't you think you would take that off before you threatened him? But, that's just me. Authorities said the investigation continued after his arrest and led them to disturbing child porn images. Investigators also found online chats showing exchanges of child porn between McDowell and other people's prosecutor said Tuesday. The latest charges, presenting and distributing child pornography and possessing child pornography, carry a combined sentence of up to 20 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. Well, what's the moral to that story? Don't threaten the president. All right. And, oh gosh, he does look a little, oh, what's this? Penis man. Claims there are more penis men like him. We are all penis man. I have no idea what this is talking about, and I'm a little afraid to ask. So, yeah, I don't know. Anybody knows who Penis Man is? All right, let's go back here. Now, I took this off of a forum, and I just copied it. So it says, I work in a hospital in a major metro area in the Pacific Northwestern United States. Today, we had someone come in exhibiting symptoms and tested negative for influenza A and B. The physician treating this patient wanted to test for 2010 COV. That was in the ER in a major metropolitan hospital. The physician did not know to call the state lab to request testing for coronavirus. This is issue number 1. Hospitals do not have on-site PCR test yet, so everything has to be sent out to CDC. Issue number 2, this patient was from a hot zone. They just got to the States 1 week ago, yet knowing this, no isolation precautions were taken, and when the state lab was called, they were told that no testing would be done on anyone who did not come directly from Wuhan City. They sent the patient home without further testing. Let that sink in. Cases are presenting to hospitals, but they are not being tested solely because the people presenting are not coming directly from Wuhan. I am telling you all this because I know that there is a major contingent on the website that live in Oregon, and those people need to know that there is an extremely strong possibility that it's here and that it has been spreading for a week. Now, I pray that that is just whatever, but I don't know. It sounds reasonable because I'm sure hospitals aren't prepared for this. Now, and this is another, like, what will happen to those without health insurance? If this coronavirus strikes in the U.S., which it already has, there are people in the U.S., what if they don't have health insurance? What if they stay away from center or going to the doctor or the hospitals because they don't have health insurance? Has any of this been thought out? I mean, I think it would be time to start thinking about it now. Really. But anyway, here is more liberal lunacy for you, because I know you enjoy it so much. New California bill prohibits charging anyone under 20 as an adult. Pure insanity. Nicholas Cruz was 19 years old when he murdered 17 people in Parkland. Can you imagine him being tried as a child? Everything liberals do is 100% backwards. I agree. So the new California bill. So if somebody 19 years old comes in and murders your family, can't be charged as an adult. Has to be charged as a child. I don't know. I think there's somebody in California just purposefully staying up at night thinking of ways to ruin the state. Really, I do. Because I don't get it. It's just like that law where you can steal up to, what is it, up to $1,000 you can steal and they can't stop you? It's crazy. All right, let's go back. All right, now this, okay, my video cut off yesterday. I know a lot of people tried to bring it to my attention. I did pin it to the comments, but probably a lot of you didn't see it. But my video shut off yesterday, right in the middle of telling you something about Justin Trudeau. And the reason it shut off is because my storage was getting too tight on my computer, so I erased a bunch of stuff, but I didn't want to redo the video again, so I just uploaded what I had because I was just about finished anyway. This was the last item. Excuse me. But I do want to show this to you. And it says, a race to rip your pants off first to see who could get laid first. Pathetic, vile deviant, his behaviors leaves no question as to why he's been coined the groper. And look at here. Here's Justin Trudeau and his two friends. And it says, button your fly speed race finalists. So there was a contest to see who could rip their pants off the quickest. And these three men were the finalists. Yeah, Rob Clarkson, Peter Moffat, and Justin Trudeau. I wonder who won. I bet it's Trudeau because he had so much practice. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Who doesn't participate in races to see how fast they can rip their pants off? I mean, doesn't everybody? All right, and this from Charlie Kirk. Hunter Biden was spotted leaving his $130,000 Porsche Panorama GTS in Manhattan, heading to lunch at the Waldorf Astoria, a 5-star hotel, all while being sued for not paying child support. If his last name were Trump, I feel this would be a much larger story. Oh, yes. Could you imagine if one of the Trump boys did that? If they owed child support and there they were pulling up to and not paying it, and they pull up in a $130,000 Porsche to the Waldorf Astoria, but he doesn't have money to pay his child support. Yeah, he's even worse than I thought. Now, this is interesting as well, and this is the last item for tonight. By Emerald Robinson, replying to Joel B. Pollock, who said, source, Alexander Vindman's brother, whose name I can't pronounce, clears publication by NSC officials. And it says, what a coincidence. While Alexander Vindman at the NSC testifies against Trump at the House impeachment, the other brother, whose name I can't pronounce, appears to be in charge of clearing John Bolton's book for publication, if you believe in coincidences. Well, there are coincidences, but I do have to remember what Q has told us over and over again. There are no coincidences, not when it comes to this stuff. So, all right, that is it for tonight. I am going to leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow. And, well, I sincerely hope I'll be back tomorrow. And I'm not sure if I'll have the Somerset Balanoff stuff done then or not. I can't promise. But I'll have something interesting, I'm sure. So there you go. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you guys, those of you that have donated via coffee or our Patreon supporters. I really appreciate it. It's what keeps this channel going, and I appreciate it more than I can ever convey. But I do try to thank you guys because it is very, very much needed, and I am thankful for it. So, good night. You guys stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking the truth because, I don't know, you can insert your own ending there. Good night.